everybody, it's Krista Krogan of Oily Homes. And remember, Jamie Bendorf and I are the oily homes for your oily homes. So you're probably wondering, why am I sitting at a piano? I'm wondering that myself, because I certainly am the least musically talented in my family, but here I am sitting in front of our piano. Why? I thought this was an essential oils channel. It is. You're in the right place, I promise you. But today's lesson actually is about something in essential oils known as notes. And the notes of essential oils are something that you're often going to hear discussed or talked about when describing the smell or the intensity of an essential oil. So probably you've seen in your reference guides that there's scales of notes as far as where your essential oils are going to fall. And it is a scale that came from the piano settings. So we have low or bass notes. We have middle notes. And then we also have high notes with our essential oils. And so what is all of that? When you see talk about notes, what is all of that? Okay, well, I'm gonna go ahead and just get into this with you. It's actually very simple, but it's also very, very interesting. And especially when you start to consider blends, the blends that Gary Young has formulated. He has taken great time, care, and concern regarding the notes of the different oils that he's blending together and the intended result of those. So essentially what we're referring to with notes is simply the throw of the scent, like how long it lasts. And so your higher notes, top notes, are much, much lighter. They're light and airy, and they're gonna dissipate quickly into the air. They're not going to linger long. So maybe 1 to 2 hours tops. So citrus oils is a good example. Now some of our oils are going to fall into a couple of different categories of notes. So citrus is one that, for example, lemon essential oil can be considered a high note, or it can be a middle note. That's just the way citrus oils are. Just depends on the classification. And so with our high note oils like citrus, what happens is we smell them really fast. Like when you open the bottle or you start diffusing lemon, you're gonna smell it immediately, right? It's just gonna hit you, and it's just gonna be fresh. But if you pay attention, that scent is actually going to not linger long at all. It's not going to be around. So for a lot of us that like to use diffuser jewelry, I don't have one on right now, but we wear pendants and we put essential oils in those so that we can smell them. So you may have noticed that some of your essential oils, the scent is not lasting very long. Most likely it's because if it's pretty recent, if you've only put it on like an hour or two or less, it's probably going to be that it's a top note. It's one of those that has an impact early and then it's going to dissipate. And speaking about chemical constituents, those are going to correspond most frequently with a constituent called monoterpenes. So monoterpenes are the first that escape from the bottle, but then they are long gone pretty fast. Okay, so let's go on to middle notes. A middle note will be in the middle ground, obviously, between the top notes and the base notes. And so these oils are going to be a bit stronger, and then they're gonna last a little bit longer, like maybe approximately 2 to 5 hours. The average, that is the average for a middle note scent. And so some examples of middle note oils are lavender or juniper or rosemary. Now a base or a low note is heavy and it's gonna last for a long time, like usually 24 to 48 hours, but some of them have even been noted still after a couple of weeks. It's kind of crazy. So oils in this category are going to be, for example, sandalwood, vetiver, patchouli, which is what I have here with me, and then cedarwood. So I know that when I use patchouli, that is when I wear it, when I put it on and then I go out in public, I can almost put money on it that somebody is going to ask me, oh, I smell patchouli, or they're going to smell the scent, whether they recognize it or not. That's because that it actually lingers super long compared to some of the other essential oils that we have out there. So that's kind of interesting. And then we think about the concept of blending, right? And so, again, I don't play the piano, but once you start blending everything and you're making it much more harmonious, well, the same works with our essential oils as well. From the blends that Gary Young has formulated for us to the blends that we might create or recreate for ourselves in our homes with our diffusers, or in our roller bottles if we're trying to make our own perfumes. It's really good to know that if you want a scent to last longer, then you're going to want to make sure that you have some base note oils in them. I'm going to get into more of the specific examples of more oils and what their classification is in just a second. But another thought on this too, this concept of notes and the volatility of the essential oils, how quickly they evaporate and are gone and we can't really even smell them anymore. So I found this really interesting as well. And as I was reading it, I was realizing yes, this makes sense. I've experienced this. And that is when you have an essential oil, for example, especially, I'm just thinking especially with a base note like patchouli. So I can smell this out of the bottle right now, or I can topically apply it. And if so I notice the smell, it's got a specific certain smell, but what starts to happen is as I keep coming back to the oil, the chemical constituents that are being released are starting to kind of interact with each other. And so some of those lighter note constituents that are in here will be released first. And then the heavier note, the more base note chemicals will be released later, because those are the ones that linger and hang around. So as I smell again, if I'm really paying attention, which I'm not doing a super good job of that right now, but if I'm really concentrating and paying attention to the difference in smells between now and, maybe if I give this 5 minutes now, if it smells different to you, that's why. It's science. It absolutely makes sense. It's also why an oil might smell different straight out of the bottle than it does applied topically to your skin. It's going to smell different, or it can. You might notice that. Or if you're putting it in the diffuser and you notice, oh, it smells completely different when it's in the diffuser. This is why, because the volatility of the mixture of all of the chemical components in this bottle, everything's getting stirred up, and so we're actually smelling different notes. We're smelling different chemical constituents as they are evaporating into the air. So I thought that was kind of cool. Let's see, so when you smell any blend using essential oils, you're going to smell the top note at the first whiff, as I mentioned. A few minutes later, you might smell the blend of top and middle notes. And then within an hour or two, you will most likely not smell much of those top and middle notes anymore, but that's when you're going to start smelling those heavier base notes. Just double check my notes and make sure. Okay, so I'm just gonna kind of quickly run through a list of essential oils known as top or fast notes. So, angelica, anise, basil, bergamot, cardamom, German chamomile, Roman chamomile, coriander, eucalyptus globulus, juniper, lavender, lemon, lime, mandarin, marjoram, neroli, pennyroyal, petitgrain, rosemary, rosewood, and spearmint. Those are all classified, generally speaking, as top notes. So here's some middle notes, and you're going to recognize some of those that I've already said because, as I said, sometimes they're so close that it's kind of like a middle top note or a top middle note, so they kind of fall within both. So again, here's the middle note list, and this is not an exhaustive list of all of the essential oils out there, but anise, angelica, basil, black pepper, cardamom, carrot seed, cassia, clary sage, clove, coriander, cypress, fennel, geranium, ginger, grapefruit, hyssop, jasmine, lavender, lemongrass, mandarin, marjoram, neroli, nutmeg, orange, oregano, palmarosa, peppermint, petitgrain, pine, rose, rosemary, rosewood, sage, tangerine, tarragon, thyme, and ylang ylang. Now I'm going to go through a list of the base notes, and you're going to recognize some of those that were just listed in the middle note category, because again, some of those towards the higher end of a middle note, you know, it's kind of hard to classify them for sure. So here are the base notes: bay laurel, cedarwood, cinnamon, clary sage, frankincense, geranium, ginger, jasmine, myrrh, neroli, patchouli, rose, sandalwood, vanilla, vetiver, and ylang ylang. So that's just a list for you to kind of go through, and as you heard an oil, you thought, oh yes, that one lingers forever. Those are those base notes. So that's just a little bit of information that I wanted to share with you as far as the notes. Top notes are lighter, airier, they don't linger, they are high in monoterpenes, and then on the other end, the base notes are the heavier, later chemicals to leave from the bottle. I didn't mention this word earlier, but I meant to. They're full of sesquiterpenes. Those are those heavier molecules. So just a little bit of information for you. Hopefully that was helpful and interesting. If you're ever wanting a scent to linger, make sure that you add some of a base note to your scent. So that's just a little bit of trivia for you to help in your essential oil usage. Okay, thanks for joining me today. Jamie and Krista signing off, Oily Homes for your oily homes. Thanks. Have a good one.